in helping high-performing moms overcome their burnout so they can have the energy to enjoy life and feel calm, confident, and grounded. For years, Stephanie struggled with daily, debilitating fatigue and was drowning in stress. I'm sure many moms out there can relate, many parents in general. Nothing was helping. No one was listening, and she wasn't getting better, so she embarked on a relentless quest to find the solution. Around the same time, her husband, who we're gonna have on this show, was battling for his life. As an end-stage alcoholic, he was desperate to get well and signed up to drink ayahuasca. This sparked her interest as well. If he was gonna heal, so was she. Through intentional shifts in their diet, lifestyle, mindset, and with the help of numerous sacred plant medicines over the last 3 years, she was able to identify and heal the deep roots of her chronic anxiety. Having experience as a provider, she witnessed firsthand the crisis in our healthcare system. And as of March this year, she left her 11-year-old career to begin her own virtual functional nutrition practice. She now provides medicine in a way that she's finding meaningful and aligns with her authenticity. So let's really give her a shout out here. I'm really excited to have Stephanie on and to share her with all of you. I'm going to share all of her information in the description below. So without further ado, let's just get into the show.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Integration Station. I'm Naturally Ashley, your host, and I've got a wonderful friend to introduce you to today. Her name is Stephanie, and she works not only in the nutrition space and functional medicine space, but also with some psychedelic medicines. In the last 3 years, she's experimented with many different plant medicines, so I've been really excited to have her on so that she can share her direct experience with you, as well as some of the reasons why she's passionate about working with these medicines, such as mental health and such. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Stephanie so she can give herself an intro and share a bit of her story.
Hi, yes, thank you so much, Ashley, for having me on today. I'm super excited to be here. Yes, so my background is in medicine. I am a physician's assistant and functional medicine nutritionist. And a few years ago, I was struggling with daily debilitating fatigue and abdominal pain. And I was searching high and low for solutions to these chronic problems and was just being bounced from specialist to nutritionist. And no one was really able to identify what was going on. So due to my tenacious spirit, I decided to go on a quest and find out the answers for myself. And that's when actually both functional nutrition and plant medicines fell into my life. And throughout that journey, radical transformations occurred in my own healing. And using both of those modalities was able to really get to the roots of the symptoms that I was experiencing. And really heal, and now able to take that information that I've learned and help other moms and individuals out there who are struggling with the same problems and just feel totally lost and overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things I think about functional medicine too, is that it really is about getting to the roots of the problem. You know, I don't know if any of our listeners have seen the functional medicine tree, but it's pretty beautiful to just see it in that kind of, I guess, visual. Because, you know, the symptoms would essentially be the leaves and the branches. You know, the trunk, that's us, our wholeness, where it all comes together. And the roots are where we find what's going wrong on those leaves and on those branches. And, you know, it really is, when it comes to functional medicine, about bringing it all together, you know, finding what's common among symptoms instead of isolating each symptom and giving its own medication for it that comes with its own side effects. Yeah, how's your experience been working in this space now that you've found nutrition and plant medicine?
Yeah, and at that same time too, I was also starting to get rather dissatisfied with my career as a PA because I felt like I was just going through the motions, just prescribing this pill for that problem, and I wasn't really helping people. So through my coursework in my functional training, was really able to relearn medicine, and it was really eye-opening because it was in a way that it worked too. Like, it was mind-boggling for me to think about my really expensive, really challenging PA schooling, and to think that really they're doing it all wrong. They're just basing everything on symptoms. And it's really not that difficult to make these tiny shifts to support our body instead of causing it more stress and dysfunction.
So what do you think has been the biggest asset for you in your journey so far? What's made the biggest impact for just bringing it all together?
Yeah. So for both, using plant medicines and functional nutrition, really just getting to the source of, and for my personal story, getting to the source of the stress. So what is it? What was that disempowering belief that I had from early childhood that started all of these behaviors and actions and thoughts that just got totally out of control, left unchecked, led me to where I was whenever I really started in my healing journey.
Yeah, this thing that you posted on Instagram, just because you think it doesn't mean that it's true. I was listening to that with my partner earlier today, and we were just laughing. We put it on over and over again because it is so true, and it was just in such a simple little jingle. But it's just because you think it doesn't make it true, your brain's a little bitch, and it's lying to you or something like that.
Yeah.
It was great, but it's true. I don't exactly agree fully with calling yourself names or anything, but of course this was for comedy's sake, and it makes a nice impact. And it's so true, especially when it's coming to mental health issues or perfectionism or anxieties or depression, or so often we can just get stuck in these ways of being just because we want to keep pushing and pushing. And any kind of mother out there, anybody who's been on an entrepreneurial path, anybody who's been doing the work, what those voices are like when they really start coming through. It's oh, well, just keep going even though you're a little tired, or you have to get that done, you can't rest now, or and sometimes it's completely different and bogus of you're not good enough, or you're not worthy, or whatever, those kinds of things come up too. So can you share a bit more about your personal journey, your story, working through these things?
Yeah,
where you started, I guess. You start from the beginning, where did you start, and then guide us through.
So I'll say that, I wholeheartedly stand behind functional nutrition, and so much can be done with diet and lifestyle changes, but I don't think that I would have been able to achieve the level of healing that I did without the use of plant medicines. So it was, if anyone else has used them before, it's like peeling back layers of the onion, each time that I would journey, I would get a little bit more information, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And, for me, I am an overcoming perfectionist and a high achiever. And all of this started for me when I was a little girl, and basically did not receive the type of love that I needed. My parents are amazing people, and I love them to death, and they pushed me really hard to do well. And they would do anything for me if I called them and asked for help. but they just couldn't give me the love the way that I needed. You know, my dad, he was super hard on me. Again, I think it was a good thing because it drove me to success, but what I needed for him, he couldn't return. So, you know, so for example, I thought if I was skinnier or faster, or if I got this grade, or if I got into this school, or if I made this achievement, then he would be able to love me the way that I needed. And so looking back on my life, there's all these different stories and examples where I've just killed myself to be enough when really I already had everything that I needed. So it took a lot of, you know, different journeys and time to really come full circle with that. And it's still something that I do catch myself in still. I get into that like high anxiety driven mode. And thankfully my partner is awake as well and conscious and can be like, hey, I think you're in your dad wound. Like, you need to just step off the gas for a little bit. You know, you're starting to get real anxious around everyone here. So that's really helpful too. But at least now I'm aware of it and know that, you know, for as much that I do, that I need equal amounts of rest too, or else I'll miss it all.
Yeah. How are you like finding that balance now? Was that a message that came through? Was that experimentation?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had messages come through with that. It was actually one of the first message, actually it was the first message I ever had with plant medicines. It was, the war is over. So, and that's something I still have to remind myself of. Like, I've already been through so much and conquered so much. Like, I don't have to continue to prove myself. And daily, it might sound silly, but to balance that, I literally will just lie down for 10 minutes and not meditate or do any fancy breathing. I'll just lay in stillness for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, just to recharge, because it doesn't matter if I'm, you know, in my dad wound or not. I'm still like a busy person and I like to be doing things. So just having that quick little rest every day, just to kind of recharge my batteries, is super important. And then on the weekends too, we're really making space for not working and just being present with my family.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that you're a mom too. Have you found how have you found it in your parenting? Like, have you found that it's helped you as a parent, or is this something that you're sharing with your kids or with other members of your family? How have you integrated it into these other parts of your life? Because oftentimes when we're working with the medicine, it's like a calling for us, you know, so then to start sharing it, you know, and having our families and our loved ones seeing the changes, how's that been unfolding in your own life?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We're super open with our kids. They're 8, and 4. So, you know, if we ever have medicine out, you know, we tell them like, this is medicine, like, you know, we respect it, you know, we sage, we have intentions, these sort of things. They're super spiritual too. Like, they love saging the house and going to rivers and dropping in like little flakes of mushrooms and saying a prayer. And anytime we go away from the home to journey, you know, we always let them know what we're doing and say, or I'll say, you know, because I want to come back and be a better mom. They're always like, but you're already a great mom. It's like, oh, why am I leaving? You know, I think everyone gets that feeling like right before they're like, oh yeah, I got this. Why do I need to leave my family again? So yeah, we're super open with them, and my parents too. I mean, they know. I wouldn't say they're for or against it. They just live in a generation, I feel like, where there's a lot of fear. I would love for them to do it because I know it would help them so much and it would really deepen our relationship, and I would love that for us. But I don't know. There's maybe one day there'll be an invitation and they'll receive it. I'm not sure. I guess that's up to them whether or not they feel the call. I would think it would be very hard for them not to see the changes that myself and my spouse have gone through in the last 3 years. So I just don't know how someone, that's just me. Like, if I saw someone changing beside me, I would want to do the same. And that was one of the reasons that sparked my interest. My husband first did ayahuasca in his attempt to basically save his life from addiction. And I was like, okay, well, if he's going to be healing and changing, well, I better jump on the train too, because I don't want to be left behind. And then the last part of your question, as far as integration goes, absolutely. I mean, I've been able to see in plant medicine journeys basically what it was like for me as a little girl and what was working and what wasn't working, particularly in relation to school and sports and being pushed like so far. And since I homeschool my kids too, now I've been able to really flip the script and see that the actions that I was doing before and like rushing and pressuring and trying to do all the things, it really just wasn't working, and it was just setting the stage for more fear and anxiety and stress. So absolutely I've been able to integrate that, and now we have such a more peaceful homeschool life, which is a really beautiful thing if there are any other parents who homeschool out there, because it's not always the way they make it look on Instagram. It can have its challenges for sure. And if, you're not growing out of these, mannerisms and beliefs, then it can prove to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, and sometimes even if we're doing something a little different, by homeschooling, and instead of putting them into the conventional like public or Catholic school system are pretty much our choices here in Ontario. And if you're not doing that or paying some private school, then homeschool, it's like there's already like this pressure and this stigma around it. But then on top of that, you have like family members questioning things, so then there's even more pressure. And then where does that pressure go? It all goes on to the kids. So then are we really changing the scenario just because we're saying we're homeschooling? No, it's like now we're just funneling through even more stuff from our parents all over again. But it really doesn't have to be that way. I know I personally had to do a step back there too, and just like let things organically unfold. The Call of the Wild and Free, I think, was a book that really helped me too. I don't know if you've read that or had access to
I've heard of it. I haven't read it yet though. Yeah.
It's pretty good. We'll be sending out affirmations on that in the future. I just went through it, and slowly but surely some of the stuff that resonated the most. I really loved making affirmations and like little coloring activities and things.
Cool.
Too. So that'll be coming in the future. I guess I'd love to hear more like about the medicines and what it's been like for you, because in these 3 years you've worked with quite a diversity of different things. Can you walk us through what medicines you have worked with, what it was like for you?
Yeah, so I worked with a variety of heart openers. There is a man who kind of I've studied and worked with before, and he has a wide diversity, probably a couple dozen different heart openers, all certainly plants. So tried those on probably maybe half a dozen times. I've also worked with psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, cannabis, and iboga. I think that's all. Just think off the top of my head real quick.
Yes. What was the call to heart openers? Can you share a little bit more about that for anybody who's unfamiliar, maybe doesn't even know what that means?
Yeah. So my husband, like I said, he was kind of like the plant medicine guinea pig, but for him it was like an act of desperation. So he drank ayahuasca, and then he went to start working with this community who is serving these heart openers, and just came back to say what a wonderful experience was, because this is very different than ayahuasca or iboga, where you're lying on a mat and you don't interact with anyone. It's very social, or it can be, like you can mingle around the space and interact with other guests, and and oftentimes it seems like the people that are there, or it doesn't seem, it is, but the people that are there have really important roles in your journey that evening, and even in your life moving forward. It's always interesting to see the diversity of people, and then to find out how much you can really relate and connect to one another. So he had done that and came back and basically just said, like, I can't wait to bring you there. There was a husband and wife. Like, this is so beautiful, something we can do together. So, and then that probably wasn't for a few more months later did it really happen, just with the timing and whatnot. And actually, we were supposed to go on New Year's Eve, and ceremony got canceled because the facilitator was sick. So we scrambled and reached out to some other people in the community, and basically kind of like had our own ceremony and got like a different facilitator to come. So I'm like, my first ceremony is not being canceled. We're going to make this happen. So we were able to still make it happen. And like I said, there's probably, I would say 20 or more different of these medicines that he has created. And they all give you a very different experience. From it can be body focused, mind, heart, or really spirit focused. So it really just kind of depends on the medicine and what your intention is, and where it can take you from there. So yeah, really, really beautiful experiences, usually about like 6 hours long. So not super long in comparison to, say, an Iboga journey, which is like 12, 14 hours.
Or like traditional therapy or SSRIs.
Oh my gosh.
People coming in that are like, oh, I've been on these for 20, 40 years. I'm like, okay, so you were the guinea pig, because these have never been long-term, tested for long-term use. So, it's pretty crazy to think, that some of the people on these medications have been on, since they were created, and definitely. Yeah, and I would say 6 hours seems like a shortcut. Yeah.
And I would say my actual call, like, I didn't know this was my call. My husband kind of like brought it to my attention after the fact. So we were signed up to go for the ceremony in January, and it was like late November, December, a month before that. We were at Disney World actually celebrating my son's second birthday, and I had like a full-on anxiety attack there. Like, it was the first time I'd ever had one, to the point where I was thinking in my head, like, I'm going to the hospital, like, what's going to happen? My kids are here, and starting to get really scared about what was going to happen to me, because I just couldn't get my heart rate to go down. And we're in like a place surrounded by a lot of people. And so yeah, that was it for me. And then after that, actually, I had quite a few more anxiety attacks. It kind of like broke me open. And then once I started doing plants, it like really opened my heart up. So I was feeling a lot more. So these things, although not desirable, were actually happening to me now, because I was feeling. So luckily that hasn't happened in quite some time, but looking back on it, that was a pretty loud call, like, hey, yeah, you're doing this. Got to get some things worked out here.
Yeah, and it's true. So we really do have to feel it in order to free it. And feeling it, as uncomfortable as it is, it's actually quite a blessing, because it means that you're ready. It means that you're finally in a safe enough spot that you can finally let go of it. But it's so scary. Like, I think for a lot of people, and a lot of it maybe even too, because it's not very comfortable, so it feels like something's wrong, but really it's just part of the process, and a lot of things are right, and it's happening for you, not to you.
And I think one of the reasons why it stopped for me is because I've finally gotten to a place, and again, this has taken years of pretty consistent plant medicine work. My husband and I were probably journeying like every 3 months for a while there, to feel safe with myself, because I didn't feel safe whatsoever with myself. And I think most people don't. And it's not easy to get to, like you said, and often very uncomfortable, but very possible. And once you do feel safe with yourself, you know, then you can feel safe with other people too.
Yeah, it does start with you, right? Like, you know, what's on the inside, it really does show on the outside. You're having trust issues. Yeah, take a step back and learn how to trust yourself again. I know when it came to trust, one of the things that helped me through that, especially when I was realized that trust was an issue for me, it was when I was drinking a lot. So when I decided that I was going to get sober and quit all that, I really had to learn how to trust myself, and the best way I could do that was by being independent. But that meant being alone, and that was scary too. But then I did it. I did the thing anyway. It was like, I felt the fear, I hopped on a plane, I did some solo traveling, and I didn't have a choice in that situation. I'm not recommending go all out the way that I did for anybody listening here today, because it is, like, it can be scary and it's not for everybody. But it was when I didn't have another choice but to trust myself that I was able to. And then from there came a lot of people into my life where I could trust them, where they were like almost like, I don't even like using the word worthy of it, but it's like my caliber of people, how I was attracting people, because my energy had changed. You know, there's people in my life that were trustworthy at that point, and it's because I found that inside of myself first. So I totally relate.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
So in your journey, I know you wanted to like share a bit about just like anxiety and perfectionism, the role that it played in your old life previous to working with the medicines. Can you guide us through that a little bit, and really how it helped you in those areas? How
plant medicines helped me in those areas?
Yeah, or the journey of what it was like going through.
Yeah, so again, it was like peeling layers off. Like my very second journey, my intention was, what is the source of my anxiety? And the answers that I was receiving that night were my issues around my body image and my body image dysmorphia. But I knew that it had to be more than that. I was like, I'm like, okay, I'll take that for now, but I don't think that that's it. And then, like I said, as I continue to journey and get more pieces of the puzzle, it really became full circle when I did my Iboga journey last summer. That, you know, again, over and over in my life, been trying to be perfect and be this unrealistic version of myself just so that I would be enough to be loved. Insert by my dad. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a journey getting there, and it took different experiences, seeing it from different lenses. But the Iboga was definitely the most significant experience of my life. And that just, you know, the information that I was seeing there was just undeniable of what the source of my anxiety was. And that is, you know, the feelings of not being enough. And that just drove my perfectionism my entire life and my high achieving nature. And again, in excess, absolutely. But I can also look back at it compassionately and see that it really helped me in certain aspects of my life. You know, I worked really hard in school. I got into good colleges. I, you know, have a great degree behind my name because of it. So it was helpful in some aspects, but now I know that I don't have to do all those things anymore to be enough.
Now you're loved and treasured for who you are already.
Yeah, absolutely. And know that too, that, you know, I'm just not going to get what I need from my dad, and that's okay, because I don't expect it anymore. So like if I text him or tell him something that I'm really excited about and I get a really flat response, or it's just with more questions of, oh, well, that's not enough, or blah, 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 you know, I don't get hurt by it anymore. It doesn't crush my world. It's just, okay, that's him. That's his response. Like I can't expect more. If I get more, wonderful. But I know that he can't provide what I'm looking for. I need to know, like, have that within me, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like you really tapped into the Toltec path to freedom there. No expectations, not taking anything personally. You know, these are great gifts that are definitely passed down from the plant medicines, you know, just pure acceptance and surrender. You know, it is what it is, but that's his story, not yours. You don't have to take that.
And I can see, and I know just enough about his story to know that in his childhood, it really was about surviving. There was no time for loving and coddling. It was literally surviving. So, I mean, that's the mode that I was just programmed into. But again, like my first message was, the war is over. I don't need to be killing myself, doing all the things anymore, because it's definitely not serving me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing all this, Stephanie. We're going to cut to a break right now, but I'll have you back on in just a couple minutes and we can dive into some more. All right, I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection. We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, let's welcome back Stephanie here, talking all about how plant medicine is helping with really getting a new lens and perspective on life, breaking through to actually be that for yourself. And, one thing that I really want to take note of here is that Stephanie, in her journey, she's working not only with her partner through the integration process, but she's also working with professionals who are working with these medicines, professionally. They've taken that additional step to, make it their life, to like start tapping into that mastery. I want to know what's been the biggest impact for you, like when it comes to set and setting, which are like really big words, like around, oh, sorry. I just had a pop up here. There we go. Yeah, they're like really big words in psychedelic space, set and setting. And I know you're going away for retreats, but with some of the medicine you are working with at home. So how is it that you're doing this in your own life, the set and setting? What role does that play?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does have a huge role for sure. You definitely have to feel safe where you are. And everywhere we go, yes, we're working with trained professionals who like this is their life for sure. Sometimes you just get like a weird vibe from a place too. And it doesn't mean that it's unsafe. It's probably just part of your journey, to be honest, to feel safe, because I've had that at places that I've been to before. And I just felt really just kind of uncertain and a lot of fear. But that was part of my own journey with feeling safe with myself and speaking my truth, and setting boundaries. But whenever we're at home, if my husband and I are doing medicines together, the kids are never there. We usually have like my parents, or we're at a hotel sort of thing. I just feel like it's really it would be very challenging to do both, you know, to parent and journey, you know, and take care of other people. You know, usually when we go to ceremony, I like take full advantage of the facilitators taking care of us. I'm like, I'll need a water over here. Can I get 3 more raspberries? You know, like taking full advantage of the support. So I don't need to be, you know, dishing that out more when I'm in that space. So yeah, really just clearing the space, saging it, making sure that you have really crystal clear intentions. This is always something that we plan ahead of time, even if it's a few days and we get the call, we're like, okay, what's it going to be, Friday or Saturday? Like, we're going to do this. Like, we need to do this for X, Y, and Z reason, or this is coming up. Even sometimes if we're at a rough spot, you know, in our relationship, even just using the medicines to just have like a judgment-free zone and be able to like talk openly with one another and not be afraid, or just have a really safe space to communicate has also been really helpful. But again, just planning for it, clearing the space, having your intentions, and then having some good music is also really helpful too. The music definitely can set the stage of how your journey will go. I mean, we've had beautiful journeys listening to piano music. We've had beautiful journeys listening to like classical pop from the 90s, you know, just like can totally run the gamut. But the playlist for sure can really steer how your evening goes.
Yeah, that's really insightful. So what I'm hearing is, yeah, like music would definitely be a big one, but also doing the planning, setting a specific intention, or having a question or like an outcome. Like, of course, leave the expectations after you have it, because it's likely not going to be what you expect it to be. Yeah. You know, just like, you know, if you've got a bit of fear going in, chances are you're going to be okay. So, again, release the expectations. Another thing that you mentioned is, having, you know, being in a place of receiving instead of always being the giver as parents. And you know, if you're working with moms that go experience burnout, so like they're always giving everything that they've got to whatever project that they're on. So that's like definitely a big insight. My dog is like really mouthy today, so I apologize.
I don't hear the dog. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because and back to previously too, MDMA, my husband and I have also worked together with, which can be really nice for couples too. Yeah. So it's interesting though, even like a stimulant like that, really any medicine, for the first like 2 hours minimum, I'm just horizontal, like not moving. When my husband is literally like rearranging furniture, like moving dressers, he's like hauling wood, he's going on walks. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be like here, like not moving. So this is where you can find me while you're doing all your busyness. But yeah, I find that it to be really grounding and to just enjoy that time of not having any responsibilities and just check out and just receive the benefits of that really restorative rest.
I love that. And, you know, there really is a difference between the masculine and the feminine, you know, what it is that we need. And I love that you are both honoring your own individual journeys as well as the other person.
Yeah. I'm like, you do you, but like, I can't be doing anything right now. Like, want to go for a walk? No, I don't want to go for a walk.
I'm doing what I need to do right now.
Yeah.
So how has this played a role in your own professional journey? You've changed careers a bit, and
yeah, I mean, I think it's really just like opened me up and helped me wake up, really, you know, and just how I treat my patients. And I feel like it's helped me a lot as far as like my nutritional coaching goes and just what I've learned from it in my own experience. And since I am seeing moms like me, you know, I've lived through a lot of what they're living through, maybe not exactly, but I can relate at least. So it's helped me so much, tremendously, being able to coach them through it too, and have them being able to look at their life from a different perspective, or maybe see like what's working for them and what's not, and why those things could be contributing to the picture. The way that I work too is I have a very thorough intake process that has many questions about traumas in early childhood or traumas in life or significant events that a lot of people, they really just dismiss, that weren't significant life events and that didn't affect who they are. And it's really interesting once you start mapping these out. I create what's called a functional timeline, and it's literally just mapping out disease or symptom onset with triggering events. So it's really interesting when you look at this document and just see everything that's happened for you in your life and how it correlates to how you're feeling now. And again, just giving people that perspective and having the compassion for the symptoms that they're experiencing, because it's been a freaking journey and they've been through a lot. So to honor that.
Yeah, I remember when I was in nutrition school and we had to do health histories, submit them as like part of our training. And in that, I went way overboard, like probably much like you. I really wanted to get it. So we had to do like 6 of them or something. I did 30. I was like, way overboard. But in that time, I met with a bunch of people that also wanted to do it with me or like swap with me. And the same thing was coming up where things that I didn't actually think were important, because it's like, oh, I already went through that, I lived through that, like that's not important. They were like, whoa, look at how strong you are to like have overcome that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, at that point I was just in survivor mode and I didn't honor any of it. You know, it took that point of like sitting with somebody, having somebody else hold that space for me, answering the questions for myself, because sometimes the forms and the questionnaires themselves give enough introspection, allow you to revisit these places. Like the entire process and of working with somebody in general, I think is very impactful. It's really great for self-exploration. You know, meditation and introspection and contemplation, all of that is great, but you know, there is something about being with another person who specifically like created these forms. It's for a reason. You know, it's because it's going to give even more insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, has nutrition played a role? You know, you said that you found plant medicine and nutrition at the same time. Can you share a bit more about that?
So, after my journey, my husband had worked with a health coach. And she was like a health integration coach, really. from Being True to You, if you've heard of it. It's like a pretty big organization. Yeah. So, and once he talked with her, he was like, oh my gosh, you would love her. She's like into all the same things you are. Like, even before I was doing my functional training, I was still like a very health conscious person. I was just doing a lot of it wrong, despite thinking that I was doing a lot of it right. So going into that journey, she was also an integration coach. So he was like, you know, I recommend working with someone after. So I got hooked up with her and purchased a few sessions to work with her after that first journey. But really what happened was we ended up talking a lot more about, you know, nutrition and how, you know, at that time I was having, like, again, debilitating abdominal pain every single day. And I thought I was eating clean and I was running marathons and taking, like, you know, vitamins, but nothing was helping. And it was for the first time that she was able to connect my, like, chronic suppressed anxiety that I didn't even know I had with my abdominal pain. And it was just so mind-blowing to me to just think that I had created this storm of all these suppressed emotions inside of me. Like, I was the cause of it. And anyway, so we continued to work together through the sessions. And as I continued to get more curious about it and want to really heal myself beyond what she was able to offer, I reached out to her about the program that she had studied under, and basically just like jumped in with both feet and just started running with it.
That's beautiful. And Being True to You, they have their own training program too for anybody now that wants to do like psychedelic integration. Was the training for the health coach, was that the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or was that?
No, it's a Functional Nutritional Alliance.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Again, it was just so eye-opening to relearn all the information I had learned in PA school through a different functional lens that seemed to make so much sense, that it's just crazy that people are spending so much time learning the pharmacology of medications when they don't even work. Like, it's just really, really silly. And I mean, looking back on my PA schooling, I mean, we may have had like 1 hour lecture on nutrition, like of all the 2 years of 365 a day training.
Putting that into perspective, like, how long did you go to school for PA?
Yeah, it was 2 years, like full, like round year.
Okay. So even in that, most doctors, and that's like a long time for school, and that's physician's assistant. For anybody who's gone to school for their doctorate or a PhD or anything like that, it's much longer, and still the maximum that they're often getting, if that, would be about 2 hours of nutrition training. Meanwhile, it's plants that most of the pharmacology is based off of, and there is less side effects because you're working with the whole thing. But you know, the truth is, you know, there's a reason why it's the pharmacy that's pushed, and it's part of the board of directors for a lot of the schools as well, a lot of the doctorate programs.
And I mean, but I do think that my husband and I both feel that plants, like, we really are on like the forefront of something really big here, and it is going to be really big work because of the pharmaceutical industry. And you know, what we're doing is healing people. What they're doing is keeping people sick, and you don't make money when people get better. So there is definitely going to be a really big shift and take a lot of us. So that's where we all need to like link arms.
And it is all happening now. You know, I see it more and more. The deeper I get into it, the more I feel that I'm surrounded by people like yourself that are doing this work, you know, emerging in the forefront here.
And I think that people realize that there has to be something different has to happen, because there are so many lives that are being lost to, you know, addiction mainly, or mental illness, really, that drugs aren't working, and that these people are not getting better, and there needs to be a different solution that actually helps.
For lasting change. And I really do, I love that, you know, it can only, with pharmaceuticals, for example, we were talking about like 20, 40 years on an SSRI, still having the issues. Meanwhile, you can go and, have a 6-hour ceremony and then you realize you're your own problem. Yeah, that's uncomfortable. It sucks and it's humbling. But how much more free do you feel? How much better do you feel? And you're not dependent on anything day to day other than just finding your balance. You're dependent on that now. Where's that balance? Where's that line? How do I stay on that line?
Yeah. And I think it really just takes people wanting to get better, because a lot of people, when I was practicing as a PA, once I completed my functional training, the doctors that I worked with were really great, and they allowed me a lot of autonomy to be able to practice the way that I wanted to practice. So I was obviously, giving everyone all of my functional advice, but I did get some pushback from people that just wanted a quick fix, they just wanted the medication. They didn't want to clean up their diet. They didn't want to change their lifestyle. They didn't want to, exercise or whatever it was, or change their mindset. They just wanted to be on the antidepressant. They just wanted the weight loss pill. They weren't interested, and that's fine. That's them. That's their choice. But for the people who are really looking to drive change and do better and improve their health and overall well-being, then, those are the people that are willing, I think, and open to receive doing such a thing, and working with plants.
How did you ride that wave, navigating the different types of clients?
Yeah. First I would generally ask them, do you want to be on medication, or do you want to stay on a medication? And surprisingly, as far as antidepressants go, or blood pressure or cholesterol medications, even, most people didn't want to be on a medication. So then I could, lead into that and start with the steps of moving them from being dependent on something to being able to live without it. And then again, like I said, there were people that they wanted their meds, and that was going to be their life. And, there wasn't really much room for me to recommend otherwise. And it wasn't really worth me wasting my energy or feeling let down if they weren't going to, take what I was offering.
Yeah, I love that it's just simple, just straight to the point, a question. Do you or do you not want the medication?
Yeah.
How did you find it emotionally? Like, if helping, if it was somebody who, wasn't willing to do those changes? Because it's hard. A lot of people do just want that quick fix because they know lifestyle changes are going to be hard. And not just the lifestyle changes, but sometimes the withdrawals off these medications are brutal, really hard on people. And that can be scary in itself. So how did you find that in yourself, navigating again?
Yeah. I think just education is the biggest thing that you can do with clients and patients, is just educating them on whether it be the medication that they're taking and how it works versus how you really heal the problem, and educating them on what to expect when either taking it or getting off of it, so that there aren't any surprises.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the specific medicines and your experience with them. Mushrooms being a big one today, helping a lot with mental health. What's been your experience with mushrooms? How did you find them? When was your calling? And how have they helped?
Yeah, I found them, again, through my husband. He's kind of like the guinea pig on most things. I'm like, you do it first. I'll do it. And he did a really beautiful microdosing regimen, with a community. I think there were maybe a community, but 12 people in this group that were microdosing all together. And I believe that was something forever. hold on, I'll just let that stop.
Yeah.
So my husband did this really beautiful microdosing protocol, and I just saw what it did for him and the results that it gave him again. And so I decided to try it for myself. And more than anything, what I found with it during that experience and over again is just how grounding they are. For the first time, I just felt so connected just to, as cheesy it sounds, earth and everything. And yeah, it was really beautiful. My first couple experiences, other than the grounding aspect, provided a lot of nausea. So I was actually pretty apprehensive of them because it seemed like the first few times I was really, really nauseous. I was like a flu-like nauseous. So, and during that time, I was still like healing from my gut issues. I hadn't quite like resolved everything yet. So I really wasn't keen on doing something that was going to potentially poke my wound a little bit more. But through, trial and error and trying different things, like whether it be grinding up in a tea or eating it with food or not with food, just finding that how that worked best for my stomach. And really just listening to my body too. Most times they say not to eat before ceremony, but for me, I eat like during, like if I'm hungry and like my body is telling me I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat something right now. Like I know we're not supposed to eat till midnight, but like, can I please just have a bite of a banana?
Yeah, and you're not the only one. I've done some integration following retreats with quite a few women, surprisingly, where it was the same thing, especially if they were having eating or body image issues, that they would get really, really hungry during. And it's almost like a message from the mushrooms, like, look, this is what you need. You like, just do it for yourself. And if you can do it in this setting that's uncomfortable, then you'll be able to do it in your regular life.
Yeah.
I don't know
we
if
usually,
that's true, but
we've also really enjoyed using mushrooms out in nature. Like we'll go on a hike together and use them there, and it just, again, just you feel super connected, and everything is so colorful and just really beautiful, and you just have a much greater appreciation, I feel like, of everything that's around us here, and just taking those moments to just kind of explore and have fun. Really, it doesn't have to be like super serious, like lying down on a mat. Like you can go out and have fun. That is, if you aren't lying down and sick or something. But yeah,
that's how we used to do our trip sitting, and also like field trips. If we had a group, we take them out barefoot down the trails, and then around a big rock, and then down into the water. And it was very, very beautiful. And sometimes the trees or the animals would talk, or the water would talk, or it was just this beautiful connection, this beautiful experience. I'm curious, because you've not only experienced these things for yourself, but you first watched what they did for your husband. So what were the changes you saw in him, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I would have to think. I probably have to ask him what his intention was on that specific
what did you observe?
Microdosing. But I know that it was like super significant for him. But yeah, I just noticed him just overall just kind of letting go of I guess like these attachments that he had to people or places or even ideas and thoughts, and just kind of freeing himself up more from these old people and, again, like habits that really weren't serving him, and being able to not care so much about what these people thought, or invest so much energy into these things that really just weren't serving him, and really just being curious about what it was that he did like, and trying new things like mountain biking, or raking the leaves. Like, hey, actually I really like raking,
Oh, it's so meditative. Kind of, I'm like that too. I love it.
Just like really saying, okay, what, like, do I even like some of these things anymore, or what do I like? So it was just a lot of exploration, because I know in the beginning it was, you take the medicine and then for the next hour, like do something like yoga or raking leaves or something where you're just quiet with yourself. So I know that was really fun and interesting to just kind of be able to explore like that.
Yeah. Now, how about your guys' relationship with MDMA? Was that together, or did he experiment with that first?
Yeah, no, we did that together, and we have a few times, from a recommendation from one of our friends and mentors. He had said how it's really beautiful for couples, again, just to have that really open, safe space to communicate. I think it can be really great. It's not a plant, obviously, so some people are a little maybe less inclined to lump it in the plant medicine category, or maybe don't favor it as much, or they might be more fearful of it because it's not natural. But we've always had really wonderful experiences with it. It can be really nice to do before something like mushrooms, which we've done, because then it kind of opens your heart up and takes away that fear, that sometimes mushrooms can bring on. It makes it a little of a smoother transition, I would say. But I will say that it does generally have a harder crash afterwards, just because it does just like dump out all of your serotonin and makes you feel so good that if you're someone who maybe has already low or fluctuating serotonin levels, can be harder to bounce back. So for example, like my husband, like it usually takes him like 4 or 5 days to really kind of get back to baseline. So for us, that's not something that we use really anymore, just because, I mean, for me personally, having like those days to recover, I don't have that, in my busy mom life, nor do I want that either. I like feeling really good, so I do things that continue to make me feel good. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are definitely some benefits with MDMA, especially when it comes to relationships. But as you said, there are also these side effects. It's not 100% natural. It was.
Yeah, and we feel like too that MDMA is almost kind of like cheating. It seems like you just get information. You don't really have to experience the discomfort like in maybe a mushroom or an ayahuasca or a boga journey, that it just kind of comes to you like, oh, I understand this now. It makes total sense.
Yeah, surprisingly, I think every single time that I've worked with MDMA, I had a purge. But I think because my body doesn't, would reject it. So I think it might have just been, me and my body doing that. But it did. But then afterwards, like some of the insights that I got were like just insane. And I felt like I could more just sit there and observe. And one of the things that I observed or was able to tap into was like a type of clairvoyance where I could see like people's auras and stuff. And so it taught me some things just through observation, but in my body it didn't always feel that good, especially in the beginning. But other people, I hear that it's like the after effects, like what you were saying, where it takes a few days to recover. I could recover just fine. It's not my favorite thing to do, and I really don't do it, but I have. And other people too, they'll get like their jaw will hurt or whatever from moving. I didn't have any of that, but I would have the purge. So again, it's good to like just honor how bio-individual we are and how these things can be different for everybody. But we do have another commercial break coming up, Stephanie. I'd love to have you stay around so we can talk a little bit more. So I'll cut to break now, and we'll have you back, and we'll close up, okay?
All right, perfect.
Okay, bye, love.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, bakes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
Let's share PACE everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education. CTCP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CTCP.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Right. Welcome back, Steph, and everyone listening today. Thanks for showing up. So we were just talking about, some experiences with mushrooms and MDMA. There's a few more medicines on my list here I'd love to, hear your stories about. And then we'll bring this episode to a close. Can you share a little bit about LSD? How did you find each other?
Yeah. So actually, we found each other in Las Vegas. So my husband and I were actually there last year attending a psychedelic convention. He is an author and wrote a book about his experiences with plant medicines and basically how it saved his life. So we were there promoting that, and again, we had reached out to our friend and mentor who knows everything there is to know about every plant under the sun. So we had both been curious about this for a while, and we thought, what better place to try it than in Las Vegas? So that was our first encounter with it. And we actually only did a half dose because, okay, this is our first time, we're alone, sort of thing. And usually with LSD, you don't need a facilitator.
And
but
you
it is a really
microdose
long...
it too. Like you really don't need a lot to get a lot out of it too.
And actually, he was actually microdosing it. I can't remember if he was. Oh, sorry. Yes, he was microdosing it before this, so he had experience, and he was having wonderful results regarding his ADHD with the LSD. So yeah, so he had tried it again, guinea pig. So yeah, we just did a half sheet, and it was so beautiful. And after I lay down for 2 hours in the hotel room, we just went for a walk on Las Vegas Boulevard, which is like the strip in Las Vegas, and it was such a wild and interesting experience, because for me, I could like feel everyone's energy, and there's a lot happening in Vegas. So would be walking by someone, be like, okay, they are like a little sketch. Let's go over here. All right, we're going to cross the road. Oh my gosh, the vibe over here feels so much like lighter. Like, okay, let's walk towards this person. Like, I'm getting something good from them, you know? So we were able to like navigate that way versus my husband, who was just like seeing everything. So yeah, it was a really wild walk. We walked from our hotel to like the fountains at Bellagio, and then I think we got a cab back. But yeah, it was really fun and interesting experience. And then following that, we have journeyed with it a few other times at home, doing a full dose. And again, a very different experience, very grounding. And it is a very long journey. It's about 12 hours. So you can kind of come in and out of it. And, you know, it wasn't until we brought cannabis into the picture a little bit later in the journey, it just got really loud, like, for a short period of time there. It was like, okay, wow. And like, this is happening and we're here, and just really feeling the presence of, you know, our loved ones that were no longer here around myself was really, really powerful. Just knowing that they were there and feeling protected and safe. It was like almost overwhelming, like anxiety overwhelming, but then I'm like, no, like I'm good. Like I've got everything I need. They're here with me. I'm safe. But yeah, I think it's a really beautiful medicine. You just have to be prepared for 12 hours.
Yeah, there's another long one that you've worked with too, Iboga. Can you share a little bit about your experience? What was that like for you as well?
Yeah, so Iboga, if you're anyone listening is unfamiliar, is a very powerful plant medicine.
The master teacher.
Yeah. So I do feel a little badass for doing it. I just have to say that. Again, recurring theme here. So my husband actually he drank ayahuasca and then he relapsed, and then he went to Costa Rica and did Iboga like maybe 9 months later. And since then he's been sober. So it clearly saved his life. And last spring, so not this spring, but the spring before, his brother was basically battling for his life for heroin addiction. So we took it upon ourselves to basically bring him under our roof, and me being the nutritionist and person I am, I'm like, okay, we're going to clean up your diet, you're going to get on supplements, we're going to do detoxes. And then we also started working with mushrooms with him and journeying on the weekends, just like going on hikes. And one particular weekend we were on a hike, and it was always the plan that his brother was going to go to Mexico and do Abigail first to break the addiction, and then go to Costa Rica several months later and do Iboga to really heal. So he was just kind of with us like before getting ready, and then he would be with us again in preparation for the second ceremony. So we were never going, and we were on one hike one day, and it just came to all of us like the call, and we're just like, no, like we're all going. Like we started this together with him. We are going to end this in the jungle with him. Like we are going, and we deserve to be there just as much as you do. So yeah, we all hopped on a plane and went to Costa Rica last August, and it was without a doubt the most profound experience of my life. It is not something to take lightly, not that any of these are, but it is really powerful and something that you really have to prepare for. And I recommend preparing for any plant medicine journey, whether that be diet, like through diet, you know, just getting your head straight, you know, making sure your calendar is clear, all the things. But yeah, it's really, really intense. We were there for 8 days, and even just being there in the jungle, you can feel how like significant it is, and how just like the vibration is so loud there and undeniable. So basically for that, you start at night like you always do, but quite a bit later. We probably didn't start till like 9:30 or 10, and Iboga is actually tree bark. So it's it's chopped up pretty fine. There are some bigger pieces, but basically you sit around a fire. The facilitator comes around with a little spoonful and knocks it down your throat, and then you chew it up. And again, knowing what I know and having a history of GI issues, I knew that the better that I chewed it, the easier it would be on my digestive system. So I chewed it, and it is awful tasting. It's so bitter. It's so bitter. And I've like tried some pretty gross things before, like different tinctures, and healing herbs. And it was really, really rough. And then also the quicker that you chew it, the quicker that it will hit you. So it was pretty quick that it hit me, and I asked to go lie down. And then from there, you're basically lying on your mat for 12 hours while the experience is just happening to you. It's not where your eyes are open and you're moving around or you're seeing things. It's just like a constant stream, like your eyes are closed, of just visions like going past your face, and not even trying to make sense of them. Just so much is happening. And for me, I could actually feel like my brain, they call it like a brain purge or mind purge. I could feel like scrubbing my brain and just removing all the data out and all the junk and garbage that I didn't need anymore. Because especially people who live in cities, there's so much visual stimulation. All that stuff is getting stored in there, and it was just clearing it out. So that happened for probably several hours. And then one of the facilitators came in and started working with me. And before the journey, you actually write questions. So she started working through my questions with me that I had, because it's a very literal medicine. You can ask it questions like, I'm trying to even think of any of my questions right now, but you could say, what is the source of my, anxiety? What is the source of my fear? Why don't I feel like I'm good enough? Or why am I not in tune with my sexuality or my femininity? Even towards the end, I was so tired and fatigued asking questions like, will we have a fourth kid? It's very direct like that. But she was basically guiding me for several hours, just going through, starting from birth up until present day, and just looking at my life from this completely different lens. And again, just seeing where these certain instances occurred that led me to where I am, and things that I just would have thought were probably so insignificant, but really impacted me. And then after that point, I don't know what time it was. I was just so exhausted because it was a lot of hard work that I couldn't think of any questions to ask. Like I said, I was asking silly questions. And then there was just so many visuals going by. And also, I must note, the music that is played is a very, very loud, and it's not like soothing journey music. You'd have to look it up. It's Bwitwi. It's like African drums and yelling and chanting and like electric instruments. So it's very stimulating. So it's not like you can just lay there and relax. It's tiring. And anytime I moved a centimeter, I got so nauseous. So like standing and going to the bathroom was a horrific experience. So I couldn't really do that much. And everyone's different. Everyone's journey is absolutely different, but eventually the sun did rise. And I will say that the next day you're just super depleted, discovery day. I don't think I could get out of bed until like 10:30, 11. And really just trying to even make sense of everything that happened. But that following day, the day after, and the days to follow that were undoubtedly the best days of my life. Like I've never felt so incredible, just so light. Like there were no thoughts in my head. It was just complete, utter silence in there. There was nothing. There was no noise. And in my yoga practice, my physical body had released so much stress and emotions. I had done purging from vomiting and I did a lot of purging. I had really, really intense chills to begin. So I did a lot of like shaking purging, I believe, as well. But my range of motion was just like 7 to 10 degrees more than it was 2 days before. So that was really profound too. And I think it just kind of helped accelerate me into that next level to maintain that too in my own practice currently. But the lessons that it taught me, again, were just showing me how these things in my childhood didn't work for me, and how more or less I had the opportunity to change that for my own children and for my lineage, because, you know, I was on that same path to do the same things for them. So yeah, again, super, super powerful experience. And it was really wonderful being there with my husband and my brother-in-law too. So much healing happened. And, you know, any retreat like that, they have such amazing support and facilitators and other activities, you know, like we did breath work, there was yoga, we did a writing exercise, we did rock painting, you know, so there was a lot happening there. Massages, Reiki, to really support someone for like full healing. So again, it's really, really big commitment. It's not something that you do every few months, maybe every few years. I vowed during the experience that I would never do it again, like never, like I can't believe people go and get initiated to do this, like this is crazy. And then like 2 days after, I'm like, okay, all right, so when are we coming back? Because I feel amazing, and like I always want to feel this way. So like, let's keep digging deeper. So I'm not sure when that will happen again, but I'm certainly open to doing it in the future.
Yeah, I find that a lot, you know, it's like these are really tough things, but if you can make it through the hell, the heaven is just, it's a beautiful place to be. And once you know that you can do it, it's like, it's easier to hold that gate. It's easier to hold that gate open and revisit it. I'm really grateful because you're one of the first people that's talked about Iboga on here, and I'm actually interviewing someone again tomorrow on the same medicine who just went for her first time. So they're gonna be likely back-to-back episodes, and and you know, again, as uncomfortable as that experience was towards the end, just because I was so tired and it was really long, it really helped with that safety piece. You know, the next journey that I went on after that, I was able to lay in a room and by myself with no facilitators and not be afraid. You know, any other time that I had journeyed before in that group setting, I would never be alone. You know what I mean? Like, I would be afraid to be alone. I'd always be talking to someone or, you know, with a facilitator. But it was the first time, and I was like, no, like, this noise is like too much, like all this energy. I just need to be by myself. Like, if I can survive laying on a mat in the jungle for 12 hours, like I can do anything. So kind of how I see things now. Yeah, I love that. It's like a new part of the spectrum. It expanded.
Yeah, like that was really hard, and I did it. And like, what else can I do? Like, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, they say the more impactful or like the more difficult the journey, the more that happens, the longer you need for the integration. How's your integration been so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still integrating. There's still parts of it that like puzzle me, that I haven't really quite figured out yet. Like I said, there's so many visuals and there's so much that happens. It's hard to really make sense of it all. But yeah, it's been a long integration, and my intention for going there was to remember. So really just remembering who I am, and really just trying to remind myself that, you know, when the going gets tougher, when I get off track. So yeah, it is a long integration. So, you know, like that's why you couldn't do it every few months, because there's just too much that happens to be able to integrate it all. And but yeah, I mean, I think it's great that they do have so much support there, and to be able to have people to, you know, check in with afterwards, or, you know, obviously my husband and I did it together, so we're like constantly integrating. But to have some sort of support on the other side is absolutely crucial. And that's something that we find all the time, is that these people or these places, they have a really wonderful ceremony and space, but there's no integration. And that's where I think a lot of people fall short, is they just expect the journey to do the work for them. And as we both know, that's like the really small fraction of it. And the integration is really the biggest part. And when that is lacking, it can be really, really hard for people to follow through and to not fall back into old patterns if they don't have that support and people helping them on the other side.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm in this space. And even, I mean, like, I didn't know I was going to be on a radio show. It was just like happened. I don't even know if it's my thing, but I'm here, and it's because it's like sharing this message that it is so important. Like, the medicines are great at showing you what work is yours to do, but it's up to you to do it, you know. And my own mentor was Dr. Dan Engel, and you know, I would just sit there and like watch him help people through the integration process. Once they did a medicine, I would just like sit there and listen to how he was doing it. I'm like, this is so valuable. This is more valuable than the medicine. Like, I don't think he knew at the time what he was doing for me, but yeah, it definitely became my space. The integration, it's so important, and it is missing in a lot of spaces. It's missing not only in the medicine space, but it's missing for anybody who's been incarcerated. It's missing for anybody who's done a military serving, and it's missing for a lot of parents as well. You know, a childbirth is maybe the most psychedelic experience I had. And it's still going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have heaven and hell in the same 5 minutes, being a mom. But I'm really grateful, Stephanie, for having you here. I've just got a couple more questions for you. The first is a question that I ask all of our guests, and that's, if I was to hand you a dandelion to make a wish, what would your wish be?
Oh my gosh. I guess my wish would just be for freedom, just complete freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, freedom to just live the way that I want to, that I dream and desire to.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I think a lot of people resonate with that. And how can everybody find you? What's the best way? I'll, of course, link your website and your Instagram because I've got it here. But for anybody just listening that doesn't have time to click or scroll down, how can they reach you?
Yeah, my website is www.thefunctionalhealer.com, and then also on Instagram at thefunctionalhealer.
Yeah, and she's got a great Instagram account, you guys. She's putting out good stuff. And yeah, I really encourage you guys to get in touch. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We'll have to do this again. We'll be in touch anyway.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our Hydroponics Superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio